Hello everybody, welcome back to My Big Sister Podcast. My name is Grace and this is my big sister Josie.
Hello, and in today's episode we're talking about exam season, exam results, basically all the stress around exams.
Yeah.
And even if you are past exam season and you do not go to school anymore, you'll probably still find this entertaining because I have lots of funny exam stories to share.
And I feel like just being stressed just carries a lot into later life and jobs and stuff. So there's always something to be stressed about.
I feel like I still have exam stress dreams even now, so it's always relevant, you know?
Yeah. If you are taking your GCSEs or A-levels or whatever exams you're doing, we hope maybe this can be a little hour of break from revising and you can have a little chill, sit and listen to us and then get back to that revision.
Don't try and listen to this while you're trying to revise at the same
although
time.
That is the sort of thing I would do. But maybe don't do that. But go get a cup of tea, have a little snack, have a revision break,
go on a little walk.
Little hot girl walk and listen to this and then get back to those revision and exams. I hope you're all doing really well this week and let's talk about exams. Okay, so this is actually the first year of my life, that I can remember, where I'm not stressing about exams this time of year, or at least, the past 8 years of my life. Every single May, June and July, it's always exam time this time of year. And it's also my birthday. It was my birthday last week and literally this is the first birthday I've had where it's not just swallowed up with exam stress. And it's actually crazy. I feel like now I've left that so far behind when really it was only 1 year ago that I was doing my dissertation this time of year and all my uni work. And it's so crazy. I don't know why schools put all exams in the most fun summer nice weather time of year, at least in the UK. Honestly, why couldn't they do it in winter where we're all just sat inside anyway? Because I feel like I wasted so many fun summer months just sat inside revising throughout my whole childhood, because it's always this time of year when exams are.
Do you feel like you still have secondhand stress? Are you still, once the weather gets a bit warm, do you start stressing because in your subconscious you feel like you've got an exam coming?
Yeah, well this year I was why don't I feel stressed about my birthday this year? Because normally I'm really stressed. I'm trying to plan my birthday party amongst loads of other things, and I'm actually this year I don't have much else on this month. And I'm why don't I have much on this month? Oh, it's because normally I have all these exams or deadlines or essays due, and it is really nice to have the first year where I'm not stressing about that side of thing. And I feel when you do have exams or just schoolwork or uni work, you've always got that background thing in the back of your head telling you you can't relax, you can't sit down and watch TV, you need to be doing something. And when I tell you guys, it's the nicest thing ever not to have that. And I feel the minute you do your last exam or your last A-level or hand in your dissertation at uni, the feeling of that is the best feeling ever, when you can go and sit and watch TV and not feel guilty for doing so. Because I feel there is so much guilt around when it's exam season and you're not revising or doing work. It can feel so guilty to meet up with your friends or watch TV. So I feel it's so nice to not have that anymore, or at least when you finish for the summer you can kind of chill for a bit.
Well, in the UK at least, I think we start doing exams when we're in early primary school. Isn't it year 2 or year 3 you start
SATs.
Exams?
SAT exams.
And I don't really have many memories before then, so it's literally almost from as early an age as I can remember.
Summer always means exams.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because in the UK you do your SATs in year 2 and then you do them again in year 6. And then I feel so much pressure is put on the kids. In year 6, it's you have to get good SATs because they base what form and what sets you're put in secondary school.
Who really cares about that?
I know, but I feel at the time it was so much pressure. And then it's oh, you need to do well in your year 7 and 8 exams because then it determines if you're doing the higher set maths GCSE, and then if you're not doing the lower, honestly everything is you need to then get this to get into the next level of education. And I feel it's so much pressure is put on kids throughout their whole school career in the UK, and I feel it just needs to change. Although one thing I keep seeing on Twitter at the moment, I feel this was slightly happening when I was finishing uni last year, but I feel in the past year it's grown so much, is people using AI to do all their schoolwork. And I don't really know how schools are gonna get around this. I mean, especially universities where you're doing essays at home all the time.
They say that they have ways to pick it up, but if you're smart and you know what is a tell of AI, then it's quite easy to kind of disguise it, or like you have to do some editing, but it's quite easy to
use it for ideas.
Yeah, and I actually don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just another tool. Obviously, if you're just writing your essay question into AI and copying and pasting the exact answer that comes up, then that's not good. But I don't know, it's tricky.
I feel like in the UK, at least, the whole education system has always been around how well you can get the grades. It's not about like how much you actually can learn. It's more like, at least when I was in school, GCSEs and A levels were all about memory, basically. It was just how well you can remember, and there was no like motivation to learn outside of the curriculum, because you were like, no, I just need to know what's on this exam paper and to memorize what's going to be on this exam paper. It wasn't like really... I was learning for the joy of learning or because I wanted to educate myself. It was just drilled into us that we had to just learn what was on the paper. And like I remember the teachers being like, okay, last year's exam paper, this topic came up, so that's not going to come up this year, so we don't need to learn that. And it's like, well, that was probably something that would have been useful to us in our life to learn that topic, but because it's not going to be in the paper, it was like, nah, we don't need to know that. And I feel like it was always designed around passing the exam and getting the grade. And I feel like AI is just the same thing. Like, you're just using it to get the grade and you're being taught to pass. You're not being taught the actual information.
It's a bit worrying, because I do wonder if it means that there'll just be less like coursework as part of the grade, and it will be more about
I think that's
exams.
all they can do really at the moment. Like, how else schools and uni is gonna combat
because I was
AI.
just going to say that when I went to uni, I started to enjoy things a lot more, because I did an English degree and barely any of that was written exams where you had to go in and, you know, a timed traditional exam. It was almost all coursework, and I really enjoyed that a lot more, because it just felt like you had time to prepare, you could tweak it, edit it up until the deadline, and you didn't have to have this big scary date looming over you, and you could just kind of chip away at it. But I feel like with AI now, that might be less of a thing, because universities or schools might be like, well, we can't trust that you have actually written this. So,
but I guess like even when I was at uni and you were at uni, like you could still pay someone to write your essay for you, or get your mum to do it for you. So I guess it's kind of similar to that, but I guess AI is just a lot more accessible, and like it's free. You don't have to pay anyone to do it for you.
But really, the AI isn't going to write something that is going to get you a really, really high grade unless you know exactly.
I think it can though.
Unless you know exactly what to put in it, and it's all about the ideas themselves. And it doesn't come up with interesting ideas; it comes up with boring ideas.
I feel like it is getting better, and like if you just give it an idea that you thought of, it will then write the whole essay for you.
But maybe it's about the ideas.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's so hard, and I think at the moment all that these schools can do is just do more in-person testing, but in-person testing is all just about memory pretty much, and like some people aren't good at handwriting things and like stuff like that, and it takes a lot longer for teachers to mark stuff if it's handwritten than if they can just scan it and like put it on a computer and get it marked externally. So I don't really know what they're going to do about this. Like, it's really kind of scary that the whole education system is going to be like have to be changed because of AI. And it does make me feel bad for anyone that's going through school at the moment.
What was it like when you were like in your final years of uni? Because that was probably when it had just started coming in more widely then.
Well, I remember like in first and second year, it was like there was these like websites, and it would be like, have you heard of this website? Like, and it was more like no one really knew, and like even in class the lecturers would like try it in class and like see what it was. We were more learning about that it's been invented rather than like actually using it for stuff. And then I think in second and third year, some students obviously learned to use it, but they weren't going to shout about it in class. They weren't going to be like, guys, we should, because you don't want to get in trouble. So I think people were definitely using it, but not saying, and the uni wasn't looking for it then, so it wasn't as like, but I remember like some of my group projects, I hated group projects at uni, that's the worst thing ever. Some of the group projects, you'd get people doing their slides last minute, and then I could tell it was AI. So in my third year, that definitely happened, and we had to like report it. But it was kind of like we just finished in time that like the uni hadn't properly put any like policies in place or like anything like that. Like, I mean, we'd put our thing through like the plagiarism detector, but AI isn't plagiarism, it's like new words, so it's kind of hard to detect. And I feel like most universities now will be like, we have an AI detector, but I don't actually understand how it could know. Because what if you just write in a very similar style to how AI writes?
There are certain things. So I do use AI in my job, not all the time, but in like certain ways for like brainstorming or like coming up with initial drafts. I do use
and
it.
like spell checking.
Yeah, like I use it in different ways. So I feel like I have a good, like I can immediately spot when something is AI. Like I feel like my brain is an AI checker. It's like the large M dash. That is a key. When it says something like not only this but that is like,
but then it's really bad because
the word fostering.
But some people like just would use that word and then they might be getting accused of being AI. And I've seen a lot of people online say like, if you are like neurotypical, like a lot of people that have different ways of thinking and speaking, the way they write may like sound more like people. AI, and then they're getting told their writing's AI when it's not, when it's because, just they're more articulate or might word things differently.
Or they might be using more sort of generic speech patterns just because they're trying to like fit in with what is like considered standard English, but that ends up sounding like AI.
Yeah, I know, it's really bad, and I just don't know what. I guess, all they can do at the moment is just like do like tests in person more.
It actually is going to change everything, I think.
I guess it's like how when the calculator was invented.
Yeah.
How like maths back then it would seem like pointless to do maths with a calculator.
It's almost like they need to just say, okay, yep, you can use it, but we're going to be not judging for things like spelling and grammar. We're just going to literally be judging for how well you understand this idea and how well you formulated the argument. And like things that AI can't do, that's what we're going to be judging you on, if you know what I mean.
I do just think though the whole like education system where it's all just on grades just needs to be changed. Like I feel like it should just be like, learn what you want to learn, and then the teachers that get to know you, they can tell how like academic and how smart you are just by observing you like in a classroom setting. And I feel like that should be a better way rather than doing actual.
I feel like that would be so stressful though, because what if you were just like tired one day and you'd be like, oh, I have to sound really smart right now.
But I feel like it shouldn't be about grades. I mean, that's just like the whole education system is changing in terms of that. But I just think it should be like, we should just want to learn. We shouldn't want to pass. And I saw someone say online how like, do you think so-and-so philosopher like would have just used AI instead of actually doing the thinking? Or like, would an artist just use AI rather than doing the painting? No, they're doing the painting because they want to do the process and they want to be good at it themselves.
But the education system kind of beats that out of you.
It forces you to just get to the end result, and if you can get to the end result using AI, it's like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, obviously you would.
And it's just kind of, I think the whole system needed to change before AI, and now it's just made it even more evident like how kind of bad the system is, especially in the UK. Like
I feel like I like learning things now that I'm out, like way out of school. Like I love learning things. Like when I was learning about painting, I was learning all about colour theory and composition and all of this stuff. And then now with my knitting, I've been learning all about how to do that. And I feel like if I could have harnessed that energy of like actually enjoying learning things, you know, like I'm just buying loads of random books, watching loads of YouTube videos, but like I'd never felt that way. When I was in art class, I was just stressed.
You were just trying to get the essay done for the deadline.
So that just shows that even if someone naturally enjoys learning, they probably won't enjoy it at school.
Yeah, I don't really know what the answer is in terms of AI. I mean, at least if you're doing GCSEs and A levels right now in the UK, that's mainly just exams, so that's not really affected by AI. Yeah. And I feel like you could use AI in some positive ways, like to help you plan a revision schedule.
You can ask it if you're confused about a topic or something. Literally just ask it, then it will explain it to you.
But then it's not always accurate, is it? So you have to be careful.
But because I feel like figure out
sometimes like I remember people at uni would use it for their references and it would just make up completely fake books. And it would be written as if it's a real thing, and then you go to Google it and it's just made up.
If you were say you were confused about something to do with a maths equation, you could just ask it to explain and break it down in steps, and it would
people say like
that.
Explain this in pop terms.
Yeah.
Like explain
this like I'm 5.
Yeah. I feel like you can. Yeah, it is useful. I guess it's just kind of like when the internet was invented, like Google. Like think how different learning was before Google. It's kind of the same sort of thing, and like the amount of change that there was
Think
then.
how many librarians would have been shaken in their boots once Google was invented.
Yeah. So I feel like it is just something we're gonna have to get used to, and like we can't stop it happening.
No.
So we're just gonna have to accept it, really.
Yeah, things will change, but I don't know if it's necessarily for the worse, but I do.
But
think...
it's so bad for the environment, which
oh
is
yeah, that. To be fair, that is really bad.
yeah.
Isn't it something like every time you put in a query into
it's
AI,
like 5 gallons of water?
No, someone
or
said it
something.
uses like 2 bottles of water per query.
Yeah.
Which, if you're having a whole conversation, that's like a whole water cooler worth of water.
Yeah,
like
no, it
10
is.
minutes.
It's so bad for the environment, and I personally try to avoid it. I don't use it in my personal
I just feel
life.
like it's getting to the point where you actually can't avoid, especially in like
well, even
business.
just Googling, when you Google stuff now, it comes up
AI.
with the AI like summary.
You can't avoid transcription. AI transcription is everywhere. It's in every program. It's in Slack. It's in Google. When you're
like just customer service
when you write
for any
email,
website, it's always an AI.
In Gmail, when you write an email, it fills the rest of the question out, and it gives you a draft of an email response when you haven't even like started to write it. So you can't avoid it.
Yeah, it is scary, and I feel like it will affect as well people's first jobs and everything like that. Like there's so many jobs now that aren't gonna be needed because of AI, which is scary. But then there is more jobs that might be needed to help control these things, and like I feel like there are going to be a lot more tech jobs.
There's always going to be jobs that will adapt. Like my job is a writer. You would think I would be terrified of AI, but I feel like you kind of have to embrace it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't, then you'll just get left behind.
Anyway, we're just rambling on about AI for ages. But back to exam season. Let's talk about, how did you find exam season in school? Because I feel like I was the most stressed person for like 6 weeks.
Same.
Oh, wow.
I hated it. I found it so stressful. I was always like just obsessed about revising. I would make a little exam timetable, and if I didn't stick to it, I would be so annoyed, and I'd be like, no, I need to stick to my exam timetable. And I just got really, really stressed about it. And I don't know where that pressure came from, because I don't feel like our parents were like super strict about us doing really well at school or anything. No. But for some reason, I feel like we were just so stressed about it. I don't know why.
I was stressed because of all the study YouTubers I would watch, which I've definitely talked about before. But one thing I will say that was fun when I was in exam season was you'd all go to Twitter afterwards and like discuss the exam paper. Did you have this at the time? Oh, you didn't have
Twitter when I was
at
school.
God. So after our GCSEs, you would go on Twitter and type in like hashtag Edexcel maths calculator 1 or something, like whatever exam paper. And obviously when you do exams in the UK, everyone in the country in your year group does it at the exact same time, the exact same day.
So then you can pretty much find out if you got it right or not.
Yeah.
Away.
People would then go on Twitter, and some people would upload, like they would from memory like write out the questions and write out their answers, and then you could all compare, and then gradually like there would be like a completed paper with the right answers, so then you could go and see like, oh my god, so that's what you had to do on that one, or like, oh that's how you were meant to do it.
That's too
and then
stressful.
You could start calculating. You could work out basically.
So did you kind of
working out what grade I got?
You kind of knew quite accurately like what you had done, how well you had done.
Yeah, I mean obviously in like things like English, that's much harder to tell, but for things like maths and science where it was like there was a yes or no answer, you could tell like if you done well. And also there was just so many like memes on Twitter about all the questions, like if it was like a maths, like the maths questions of like a story like so-and-so buys 5 watermelons. Yeah, people would do like funny memes about the characters. And yeah, I feel like it was just very like a community in the whole UK of like all these year 11 students tweeting.
Kind of nice,
and after every single exam you'd get to talk to the whole internet. I remember at the time tweeting things and I got like 5 likes and I was like, oh my god, 5 people, like that. I felt like I was famous because it had come up obviously on the hashtag, so people liked my tweet. And at the time that was like the best thing ever. It was like such a community. I wonder now, where are the students going for that? Are they going on TikTok? I feel like I have seen a few TikToks of GCSEs this week.
Yeah.
And I don't know about Twitter. I don't think anyone really uses Twitter anymore, do they? Maybe they're going on Threads.
What? Oh,
Threads.
I was like, what's Threads?
Threads. Is it because I pronounce my T's as F's?
I was thinking Fred from First Date.
Threads.
Fred. I was like, did Fred have a new
I
social
always
media
say my
channel that I
T
don't
is
know
as
about?
a F, and everyone's always like gets confused when I say free, the number, because it sounds like I'm being free.
yeah.
Free. Threads. Yeah, do you think they're going to Threads? I don't know. Maybe TikTok. I feel like the teens are on TikTok. We
I
sound
have
like
a
such
confession.
old people.
I don't really understand Threads. Like, I
You
get
need
it.
to get on Threads.
Like,
I
get
like
it, as
it.
but do you post on Threads
Yeah.
separately to your Instagram?
Yeah, it's like the same
What do you
concept
write on
as
there?
Twitter was.
But what do you write?
But it's the same concept. What would you post on Twitter? Same thing.
Nothing.
Okay, but if you're not used to using Twitter, then obviously Threads you're not going to be used to using. But like if I mean, I don't use it that regularly, but I like scrolling on there. Like I like seeing other people's posts. It's like the same as scrolling on Twitter used to be like 5 years ago before it got all weird and ruined. And there's not many ads on there, which I like, because most apps now it's just covered in ads, whereas on Threads there's hardly any ads. And like I quite like scrolling on there because if I like don't, first of all, if I'm on a train and I don't have headphones, or I'm somewhere where I don't want to be on TikTok out loud, like making loud noise out my phone, I know on Threads it's just going to be text, so I can scroll on there without like my phone being really loud and annoying people
I
around
always
me.
have my AirPods with me, so I don't have that issue.
But yeah, if I'm ever on a train and I want to just get some information, I go on Threads.
Okay.
Yeah, I quite like it. I feel like I have like a process of, if I'm bored and I'm on my phone, go on TikTok, and I get a bit bored, go on Facebook, scroll through that, get a bit bored. Sometimes
I don't even have Facebook logged in on my phone.
would go on X sometimes, but now the app is just so unusable that I'm not using anymore. Then I go on Instagram, have a scroll on Instagram, maybe Instagram Reels, maybe even YouTube Shorts. Then I go on Threads. Like I have
in the barrel.
I mean, no, that's not in exact order, but yeah, I just it's one of the apps that I go on regularly. Yeah,
Okay.
so I
You
quite
have
like
it as a separate app.
Oh my god, you didn't even know it was a separate app.
Well, I don't know, because I click on it and then does it go to a different app?
If you have it downloaded, yeah, let me show you. Yeah, this is Threads. It's like Twitter.
Like, I do know what it is. I just don't.
Let me see if you have an account on it.
I think I do. I think I have, like, people follow me on it, but.
You have 3,000 followers on Threads. Yeah, you do post. Look, your Instagram Reels automatically go on Threads.
Okay, so I do post on Threads.
Yeah, you do post on Threads. You've got 17 likes.
Ooh.
See, you should get on it. Anyway, yeah, I wonder where the kids are going this exam season. Let us know in the comments. Where are
If you are the kids, let us know.
Yeah. There is another app like Twitter, isn't it, called like Blue Sky?
Something like that. I've heard about that.
But I feel like the young kids aren't there because I'm not even
But
sure
do you
what
feel
that
like
is.
there's always there was this other one that was like just for artists at one point, and everyone was like, I'm getting off Instagram, I'm going for this artist one, and like I don't think anyone's using it anymore.
I feel like all those like apps where I feel bad for the people that make these apps because like they're really trying, but I think if there's just not enough people in the app, it's not as good.
Yeah.
Like you need enough people on there posting
and that's
stuff.
really difficult to do.
Yeah, and like if there's no one out there, then there's nothing to read, so then you don't.
You
go on the
have
app.
to have a reason. Like the reason people started going on TikTok was because everyone had heard how good the content on TikTok was.
And I feel like even
there needs to be
like,
a reason to go on
Threads, people have moved from Twitter to Threads.
Yeah.
So that's like what, where like the community on there is there because of that.
Anyway, we've gone off topic. Should we answer some questions about exams?
Yes, let's answer some questions. We asked you guys some questions on our Instagram. If you do want to get involved every week, we asked for question boxes on our Instagram at mybigsisterpodcast. If you do have any longer dilemmas, then feel free to email us at mybigsisterpodcast@gmail.com. But yeah, let's have a look at what you guys said this week. Someone said, I have finished my exams now, but I'm so anxious for results day. Oh my God, I have forgotten about how much pressure results day was. On results day for my GCSEs, I was the most nervous ever. You go to your school, you get given an envelope and it's like, I don't want to open it.
It's like being in a game show. It's so scary.
Yeah, and it's like really scary because you did those exams like quite a long time ago by then, and like I'd been on Twitter like working out like, oh, I've definitely got that one wrong, like, oh, I've got this one wrong. And then by the time you get your results, it's not like you can change it, you can't improve. It's not like at uni where like if you do bad in one exam, you've got another exam.
Although you can actually contest some things, can't you? If you
you can get it like
been marked
remarked
really badly, you actually can get remarked.
But I feel like they don't change your results that much.
Because what if you get a lower grade?
No, when I was in school, if you got it remarked and they marked you lower, you got to keep the highest
Oh, really?
grade that you
Okay.
got. So it was kind of worth. I know some people, because you had to
You have to
pay.
pay.
The people with the rich parents just paid for all of them to be remarked,
Yeah.
because it was like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So they just paid. I think it was like quite a lot. It was like £50 each one.
Oh, gosh.
If you had rich parents, it's like, yeah, I'm just going to pay for all of them to be remarked, because why not? You get to keep the top grade, so you might as well. Which is quite. That is quite bad that you can basically pay to have.
Be in.
Yeah, I remember I only had one of mine remarked because I was convinced
did
I'd
it get
done much
higher?
better. No, it got the same. So it was like, well, that was a waste of £50.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like results day is so stressful. I remember on my results day, I did not open the envelope till I got home.
Oh,
and
really?
all my friends opened theirs. Like, all the teachers are like, what do you get? And I just didn't want to open it. I opened it like as I was leaving. And it's just really scary because it's like, I feel like there's so much pressure, at least at my school, to get the good grades.
Everyone wants to know what you
and
got.
you're literally comparing it to every single other person because you're all opening your results at the exact same time. I feel like at uni, it's less pressure because you just get it emailed to you and like you don't have to tell your friends. Whereas results day in school, it was like everyone's looking over your shoulder to see what you got.
At my uni, it was on a board, like in a building.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
I just used to get it emailed to me, and then like you could just lie to your friends. Not that I would, but if you wanted to, you know, you could just make stuff up.
But I do remember probably like the happiest I've ever been was when I got my university result and I got a first.
But
then
then everyone could see.
Yeah, and I was like,
Woohoo.
But then it's like not everyone is gonna get the grade that they want. So and you just don't know like what you're gonna get, and the anxiety. The only reason I felt so happy was because I was so stressed before.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was worth the stress that I put myself through.
No.
Like, it was absolutely ridiculous.
I think, honestly, on like GCSE or A-level results day, it's never that deep. And I always think what's meant to happen will happen. And like, I know there's so many friends of mine who didn't get into their dream uni because they didn't get the A-level grades they wanted, but actually the uni they ended up going to, or the people that didn't even go to uni because they didn't get good grades, they're actually, most of them now are in a very happy place in their life, and like they've got a job now, or they're happy doing whatever they're doing. And when we look back, it's like, oh, if you'd gone to that uni, you wouldn't have met this person, and you wouldn't be dating this person, or whatever it is.
And
I feel like everything always works out in the end. And
I do also think if you're absolutely killing yourself to get a certain grade to go to a certain place, you're going to have to continue killing
that
yourself
stress,
and that momentum.
Because if you're trying to get into like a really high performing uni, and it's like, you're putting so much pressure on yourself to get the A-level grades.
If you have to put that much pressure
to
on
then
yourself,
do it for 3 more years at uni, it's like,
do you actually want to be doing
it? You're not going to be happy doing it. And I do think there is so much pressure, especially in the UK, around unis. But yeah, there's so many people I know that didn't get into the unis they wanted because the year that we did A-levels was COVID, and the government like really messed up our grades.
Oh, really?
So a lot of, because everyone got their predicted grades, which was good for some people if you had high predicted grades. But if you had low predicted grades and you knew you would have actually performed better in the exams, you just
that's
couldn't.
really weird, because I remember having a big argument with one of my teachers when I was at college because she wouldn't give me a predicted A, and I kind of knew that I would get one, and I did end up getting one, but she refused to give it to me, and I really had to like argue with her a lot, and eventually she did give it to me. But if I hadn't have argued that,
well, and if you'd been in my year, you would have just got what she gave you.
Exactly. So
it was quite bad. And then, but because of that, a lot of my friends didn't end up where they wanted to go. But actually, as I said, now looking at where all my friends are, they're actually really happy with what they had to go to, which might have been their second choice at the time, but now it was actually like, okay, no, I was meant to be here. So I personally always think like what's meant to be will happen, and obviously that's not the case in like traumatic situations and stuff like that, but most of the time I'm always like confident that karma is real. If bad things happen to you, then good things are on their way. And I always think if if it's something that you didn't expect, there's a reason that is happening, and hopefully you can learn from it, or there are better things coming because of what uni you might end up at, or college you might end up at because of your grades.
And that's not to say like obviously you want to try, like you want to do as well as you can, but I think there is such a pressure, and everyone feels like it is literally going to be the make or break of their whole life, depending on what grade they get. But honestly, once you're in a job, I think I've said this before, once you're in a career, people aren't really looking that far back in your CV.
No.
They only care about your work experience, really.
Yeah, and I feel like in like the corporate world, it's always like who you know, which is so annoying because if you don't have family connections or like rich family members who can get you a job, then you're not going to be able to get a job as easily as someone who does. But it does come down to that a lot of time, and it doesn't come down to grades. So I think if you are stressing yourself up with grades, our society is not so like fair
there's bigger
that it's
issues
just based on
you have to
grades.
worry about.
Yeah, like there are so many unfair things that happen when it comes to getting jobs, and most of the time it's not to do with grades why you're not getting a job.
More depressing.
Yeah, that's probably making us feel worse. But in terms of grades, honestly, the difference between a B and an A, that's not going to have a big impact on your life. But if you're stressing yourself out for years and years and giving yourself anxiety, and like I honestly think the amount of pressure gets put on teenagers, like if you're stressing yourself out so much, that can change like your brain chemicals and like can cause mental health issues later in life. Seriously, if you're so stressed as a child.
I still have stress dreams about, like, I always have a dream that I haven't finished college or uni and I have to retake the whole year, and for some reason my grades or my exams haven't been counted and I have to redo the year, and and it's like never ending, and I've been in the dream I've been at uni for like 10 years and I can't get out of it, and I think that's just like a like lasting impact of all the stress of exams.
Yeah, so I honestly think yes, revise, and yes, you know, put as much effort in as you feel is healthy for you, but have time off. Like don't just lock yourself away in a room. And it the same was when I was at uni. I know there was lots of people I knew at uni who were so, they were like, I go to uni, I get home, I have a whole revision schedule. I don't even have, some people were like, I can't even get a part-time job. I'm spending my whole time revising. I was like, first of all, I need the money. I need to have a part-time job. But also, I want to have time with my friends. Like, I'm 20 years old or however old you are in school and uni. Like, sometimes having fun memories with your friends, you're going to be way more thankful for that than, oh, I got an A star rather than an A. It's like, what I would rather have all these fun memories with my friends than a bit of paper saying I've got an A star rather than like the difference that a few hours a week of socializing will make in your grades. I think it's way better to do the socializing and have fun still.
And if you're in a better mood and you've had some distractions, I honestly think your brain will work better anyway.
If you're so overworking yourself, nothing is going to absorb in your brain. Like honestly, your brain is like a muscle, and if you overwork that muscle, it's not going to be able to, you know, get more knowledge in it. So I think having time, like go on a walk, I think exercising is good, like moving your body can really help your brain work better, and just seeing your friends, having a laugh, watching a TV show, trying to switch off. And I know it is really hard, and it is basically impossible to fully switch off when you know you've got revision to do in the background of your head. But trying to like maybe go to the cinema or just have dinner, cook dinner, so you have an hour where you're cooking and not revising. I think that can be really good. Or listening to this podcast for an hour. So hopefully we haven't stressed you out too much in this hour if you're using this as your hour revision break. But yeah, I think it can be just so hard. But I think honestly, like ask your parents, ask your older siblings, do you remember I don't even remember what grade I got in a lot of my subjects, and like, did it impact your life? No, probably not. And I just think it's more about just, enjoying your teenage years, because you're not going to be young forever, and having fun with your friends is so much more important, at least I think it is to me, than getting like the top grades. Okay, someone said how to deal with comparing your grades to your siblings.
Oh.
I think this is very topical. Yeah. They must know that we're sisters. I think this can be really hard, especially if you do similar subjects and like you are quite generally similar to your siblings. I feel like there can be pressure put on from parents.
Did you choose some subjects because I'd done them, or were you like, I want to do something different? Because you did English, but you did English language, not English literature for A level.
Yeah, I feel like maybe subconsciously there was some things I was more interested in just because I'd grown up seeing you do it. I feel like that is the case for any sibling. So like if your whole house is talking about certain topics, it's like you're more likely to be interested in them, and that's just because you're growing up around stuff like that. Like I feel like it's always the case of like if someone's parents are doctors, they're more likely to want to be doctors maybe, and stuff like that. But I think it is hard when you're the youngest, because I'm the youngest sibling, to then have two older siblings to compare your grades to. I mean, it must be, I guess it's kind of, I would have thought it would have been easier for you, but I feel like you did put a lot of pressure on yourself, it sounds like, to get good grades.
I think being the oldest, it's like you don't have a template to compare against. So in a way, that's kind of harder because then you just put your own pressure on, like, I don't know.
I feel like it's not hard though, because like I had actual numbers to compare to, whereas you're just like, oh,
true.
Could get anything. Like, I remember our parents, like, they said that I think it was like, if you get an A star, you get like £10. Like, they were
Yeah.
and it was the same amount that you got. Like, our parents, like, were gonna give us some money as like a well done for getting our
True.
grades. And I remember it was like, yeah, so I don't even know how much it was, probably like £5 for a B and £10 for an A or something. And then I was like, okay, I need to get as many of these grades as possible. And I remember like you got really good grades, so that was something to compare to.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't actually remember getting that money.
Maybe you didn't.
No, I think I did. I did, but I just don't have a memory of like what I did with the money.
I remember
anything
mum
like that.
printing off, like, because when I was in school doing GCSEs, it was the first year that the letters had become numbers for the grades.
Yeah, that's
so
confusing.
my GCSEs were based on like 9, 8, 7, whatever.
That's so weird.
And I remember mum printed off the conversion chart between A star and 9 and stuff, and she wrote down what you guys got for an A star, and then she like worked out how much money to be fair. But because 9 was like better than A star, it was like I actually could have got more money
like
than
A star.
Yeah. Because a 9 is like a star, and then I think an 8 is like a traditional.
Did you get any A stars?
I got 2 9s.
Really?
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Oh.
Or maybe I got 2 8s. I don't know. It was in food tech and photography, I think, were my 2 best grades. Yeah, and I'm
So
a great
funny.
cook now, so there we go. To be fair, food tech I picked at GCSE, and that's what Daisy did, our middle sister, and I picked photography, which is what you did. So
Yeah.
clearly I was
True.
inspired by both of you when picking my subjects.
Photography was fun.
I like photography
I
GCSE.
feel like being a young teenager, every girl is obsessed with photography. Don't you think?
I feel like when I was growing up, it was all the like Tumblr era, Instagram photos.
Yeah.
So that was why I liked it, because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is like cool and edgy. I'm getting like the coolest Instagram photo ever possible.
And do you remember I took those photos of you where you were
Yeah.
you stood in a puddle and you were holding a Kermit toy?
Yeah.
And it was so edgy.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool at the time. And it probably still is really
To
cool.
be fair, they're actually quite good photos.
Yeah, and there was another one where I like dressed up as like a pig from Alice in Wonderland or something, isn't it? When I'm like
they
5
were
years
cool.
old. Yeah, but I think in terms of comparing to your siblings, I mean, it's so hard. If you have the sort of parents that are like really pressuring you, I mean, I don't really know what else you could do if you're living with them. But I think trying to remind your parents, like, you are different people, and just because you're related doesn't mean you're going to be as good. And like, there might be so many other things you're good at that aren't school topics. Like, you could be good at sports, or you could be good at just
Music.
Yeah, so many things that you aren't graded on in school. So to compare yourself to like certain subjects, it's like, yeah, they may be better at English, but you might be so much better at rugby or something that you're not doing like in school. So I think it's just, I mean, obviously it's so hard to not compare yourself to your siblings especially, but I think just trying to remember that like you're not the same person, and you're not, your brains aren't going to work the same way, and it's no one's fault. It's just like,
and you all have very different experiences. Like, you might go to a different school, you have different friendship groups, you have different teachers. Like, there's just so many different factors that go into it.
And even things like, I know if you're like born like early or late, we talked about this in another episode. If you're born like early, your brain is like less developed when you're born, and like that can cause just things different. Like, there's so many studies that like, I guess it is like nature versus nurture, but I feel like your nurture plays a big role in your smartness levels and like your knowledge levels. So to compare yourself to your siblings when you might have had a similar upbringing, but you didn't have the exact same upbringing, can make so many differences in like how you act and how you are as a person. And I think like you shouldn't just be growing up wanting to be exactly like your older siblings. Like you are going to grow up and probably want to do different things and have different jobs, so you probably aren't going to want to be doing exactly the same as them anyway, so it probably doesn't matter if you get different grades.
I think it really depends on I feel like the role of a teacher is so underestimated. I mean, obviously it's not, that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I think people don't realise how much of a difference a different teacher can make. Like, I had some terrible teachers, and generally I did way worse in those subjects.
Yeah.
And that I remember, like, my English teacher for my A levels, Richard Vardy.
Shout out.
Shout out to Richard Vardy. He was just
It's
so...
like Rebecca Vardy. Is he related to Rebecca Vardy's
that?
account? You know Colleen Rooney?
Oh.
It's Rebecca Vardy's account.
He was so inspiring. He really got me into like certain poets that I still love today, and he was just great. And I feel like the reason why I love English and did really well was because of him. So
Aww, shout out him.
yeah,
I wonder what he's up to.
I know. But it just like depends, like, because then my sister got I won't say the name of the teacher that no one liked, but there's like the good teachers and the bad teachers, and you can't really predict which ones you're going to get.
Yeah, I kind of feel like one day I might like to be a teacher, because I do feel like being a teacher, like there's such a spectrum of like, if you have a bad teacher, it can make you hate school and hate that subject forever. Whereas, if you have a good teacher, it can make you love that thing forever, and it really can impact like how you see the world and like.
But then I feel like most teachers are just dealing with kids being absolutely insane and just disruption.
I feel like secondary
chaos.
school would be a scary place to be a teacher. Maybe I would like to be a primary school teacher with the cute little kids, but I feel like there are so many things that can impact your grades, so comparing yourself to your siblings is just not really going to be useful, and trying to remind your parents of that and just kind of make sure they see you as different people.
And if your sibling is sort of saying like, come on, like you're rubbish, or I don't know, I really don't know what you can do about that, but just know that it's not okay, and it shouldn't be like a normal thing.
Like bothering to make you feel bad about it, then clearly they're insecure about it
their
themselves,
own
or they've
issues,
got their own issues. So someone said how to pick your subjects that you're going to be studying.
This was always so difficult. I
Yeah,
feel like.
so in the UK, when you do your GCSEs, which is like the second kind of highest exam, you normally get to pick like 3 or 4 optional subjects, and then you have like 7 or 8 ones that you have to do. And then when it comes to your A levels, which is like the top exam you do in the UK when you're 18, you fully get to pick the 3 or 4 subjects you do. And it is so hard, because the subjects that you pick can determine like what degrees you can do, because there are some degrees where they're like, you have to have done maths at A level to get into this course, and it is really hard to like know so young what you want to be doing.
I feel like there's some subjects that people think are like easy subjects, or subjects that aren't considered to be as good. Like I remember I picked art and photography as 2 of my A levels, and everyone like, I feel like the implication was that I shouldn't be doing that, because it's like, oh, you just picked 2 easy subjects or 2 fun subjects. You should be doing more serious subjects. But I was just like, I don't care. I just want to do these subjects because I'm interested in them.
I feel like when I was at school, it was a big thing of like STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering and maths. And those were like the hard, proper subjects. And then anything that wasn't that was like, oh, it's just easy. I feel like even now, and at school, people would always use the term BTEC as an insult.
Yeah, which
I feel like that still happens. Like the UK vocabulary just says like, it's like when there's like a celebrity, they're like, oh, it's the BTEC so-and-so. Like that's like an insult, like a lesser version of something. But then when I actually think, a BTEC was just like a different qualification to an A level, and it was like the more like, I don't know, like hands-on and like physical
things like hairdressing
subjects.
or mechanics, things like that.
And they were like the BTEC subjects, and I feel like they were so looked down upon.
It's actually very classist if you actually think about it, because those types of jobs that you usually do for BTEC are generally like more working class jobs.
There's like more like physical jobs, and they were seen as like not as good as studying like science or engineering. But it is just silly, because like a lot of those jobs do actually earn lots of money, and like if you're like a plasterer or like have like a trade, you can earn a lot more money than some of these office jobs. So I
feel like it's so much more satisfying to actually have a trade that you specialise in and that you're good at.
Yeah, I feel like
I actually wish I had that.
Yeah, and also it's quite like, it's better for like, I feel like if you're like exercising at your job, like those builders and plasterers, they're like actually like working out all the time and they're like enjoying their job. They don't have like
usually they're running
working
their own
hours.
business,
Like
is good.
They're their own boss. Like that sounds way better than just working an office job.
Quit our jobs and become
maybe
plasterers?
We should learn to be plasterers.
Is that what you're telling
like
me?
Plumbers? No, plumbers is like dealing with all the toilets.
Yeah.
Maybe like, what's like a fun trade? I don't know, but one day maybe we should
I would like to be a
retrain.
painter, but of walls.
Yeah, like a painter decorator.
Yeah.
But then would
That'd
you
be
just
quite
get
fun.
bored of it because you enjoy painting
Probably,
pictures?
but think how strong your arms would be.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there is such a thing of like, there's sort of a hierarchy, especially I feel like more traditional parents see it as like, there's very much the proper A levels and the ones that aren't as good. And I think that did happen to me at school as well, because when I started sixth form, I was doing media studies, which is like the big one with a stereotype around it. I was doing photography, English language, and was that it?
Did you do business at A level?
Oh yeah, and business.
Yeah.
And business was the one also that had like a stereotype of like not as good.
Which is weird because you would think
every
that would actually
every
be
job is a
useful.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like those are like really looked down upon compared to the more
And
like
media studies.
Yeah,
I always
media.
remember mum being like, don't do media
study.
studies.
Yeah, and when like media is like a
But
really
actually,
good thing to
some
study.
people that did media studies at my uni and have now got really good jobs in media.
Yeah,
so...
like you could be working as like a producer for a
Yeah.
TV show. Like that is a really cool job and like can be really well paid. So I don't know why there is this like stigma around certain subjects. I would just say personally, just do what you want to do. Your parents, I don't think, have an actual say. Do they?
Yeah.
Can they physically
No.
like change what subjects you wrote down?
Well,
I don't know. If you're under 18,
not
I don't
legally, I don't think they
don't-
can.
I don't know, but I would just literally put whatever you personally want to do, because
Yeah.
you're, no matter how annoyed your parents will be, it's not them studying it, it's you studying it. And if you know you're going to hate studying maths for 2 years or 4 years, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to. And I always think like if there is something that you need for a certain job or degree, you can do like an A level as an adult. If there really is something like a dream job and they're like, oh no, you need this, you could just do A level maths in a year at like a adult college. Like
Yeah.
it's not like you have to do it at 18 or you can never do it. Like there's so many ways that you can get qualifications outside of school. And I know I have a few friends who are doing like accountancy, and through work they're doing like law A level, like in like 6 months at work, like to get the qualification. There's so many ways to get things. Like it doesn't all focus on those subjects you picked at school. And like, I don't think there should be such a big pressure of like, you have to decide now what you're doing your whole life.
Yeah.
And it's the same with picking.
Although you kind of do. That's the thing, is like you have
Well,
to
the way it's
decide
set
something.
up, you do, but then when you actually leave school and get out into the real world, you realize like, oh, there is actually like way other ways to do this. And like, it's the same with picking your degree. Like you don't have to pick something. Like you can always, some people drop out, some people change subject after first year. Like there's so
Some
many
people
different
do
things
2
you can do.
degrees.
Yeah.
I know someone who's done 3 degrees.
Wow.
I think the main thing is just do what you enjoy, because
Yeah,
then
literally.
it will make your life so much easier. And if you don't know what you enjoy, think about how you like to spend your free time outside of lessons. And like I used to love taking photos randomly, so I picked photography, and I used to like reading, so I picked English. And that was basically how I chose my subjects.
Yeah. And also I would like always research like different alternatives to just going to college or sixth form. Like I know there's so many different things you can do nowadays. Like you could go to like dance school, dance college, or like, yeah, if you wanted to become like a tradesman, you could
There's
go
really
do an
good
apprenticeship. Yeah,
things.
there's so many more options than just doing A levels when you're 16.
Yeah, even the assumption that you are even going to go to uni is like quite a strange thing that we all just
assume that you would do that.
And
yeah.
at college, you are spoken to as if it's an assumption that you will, but really that doesn't have to be the case. It's not the right thing for everyone to go to uni. So that is also something else to consider. Do you even want to go to uni?
Yeah.
Does this even matter? Or are you really into something else that doesn't require you going to uni to do as a job?
Yeah, I think just, seeing more of the bigger picture and realising not everything in your life is going to be determined by what you're doing at school. But yeah. Someone said, what did we do for our A-levels?
Oh,
Good question. I feel like I kind of said that. So I did, the actual A-levels that I ended up sitting at the end of year 13 were business, English language, and photography. And I got A-star BB.
Nice. I did.
But that was my predicted grades because we didn't actually set our A-levels, so kind of cheating. Anyway, what did you do?
I did English literature, photography, and philosophy.
Oh,
and I got A star, A, B.
And what did you do for AS? Because you had AS levels
Art.
when you were at school. Yeah. Whereas we didn't have AS levels anymore.
Yeah, so I regretted choosing philosophy because
That's quite like a mature thing.
my
I feel
philosophy teacher was really weird, and it's weird because I like the ideas and it was quite interesting to learn about, but it was so hard to turn that into an exam. Like, how do you outline all these like really
there's no right and wrong in that.
subjects, and like we were learning about does God exist and all of this sort of stuff. How do you like distill that question into an exam?
Like 5,000 words or whatever.
It's so weird. So that's what I got a B in, and I didn't really enjoy it, and our teacher was a bit weird. So but
that was it. So we both did quite kind of easy, the subjects that our parents would describe as easy subjects, apart from English. But I enjoyed it, and I mean I did business at uni, so I did one of my A-level subjects at uni, but I feel like hasn't really impacted like my life.
But then you do know quite a lot about business.
Well, stuff. Obviously I have knowledge now on photography because I studied at A-level, which is useful for the podcast.
It actually is useful for your job as well, like
for the podcast.
Being an influencer.
Yeah, but also I could have done loads of different things.
They
would have also been helpful. So I think basically a lot of subjects are helpful in many different ways. So but I think that's all the questions we have time for. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. Good luck if you are in exam season right now. Hopefully this has been a little break from your revising.
I'm sorry, and it will be over soon.
It will be over soon, and life will be better when you don't have exams anymore. And I promise it will get better. And the summer holidays will be the best feeling ever when you finish your exams. And hopefully good luck in all your results days and everything like that. But I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Make sure you're following the podcast on Instagram at mybigsisterpodcast if you do want to send in answers to our little question boxes. And if you do have any longer dilemmas, feel free to send them in at mybigsisterpodcast@gmail.com on email. My personal account is at Grace Tutty everywhere. What are your @, Josie?
Josie Violet on YouTube and Josie V Tutty on Instagram and TikTok.
Perfect. All right. Well, I hope you guys are having a really good week, and we will see you next Wednesday for another episode. Bye guys.